For this case, we're going to the 90s and we're going to Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, mate.
Okay. Not suitable for work, Australia.
Yep, NSFW, Australia, where Alois Rez and his mother, Ziona, moved to Newcastle in the early 1990s. Prior to that, they lived near a town called Dubbo. There's a lot of interesting and lovely areas.
Australia is fucking weird.
Yeah, it is weird, and I love it. Where he would often play sports with one of his mother's friends, a man named Raymond Roff's son. Those two were close in age. Raymond Roff will be relevant later. That's the only reason why I mentioned that.
Okay.
But Newcastle is where he meets his girlfriend, which I don't even like calling her that for reasons we'll get to, named Sarah Tarrant. Shortly after, so they met in 2004. Shortly after her 15th birthday,
oh my God,
Alois Rez, who was 24 at the time, starts a relationship with Sarah. Like a sexual relationship. This is a grooming situation. He's almost 10 years older than her. She's just turned 15.
15.
Yeah.
Ugh.
After a dispute with her mother, who Soups didn't want her daughter dating a 24-year-old, her 15-year-old daughter, Sarah runs away and moves in with Alois and his mother, Ziona. Sarah's mother would object to the relationship due to the nearly 10-year age gap and also due to the fact that Alois was associated with a dangerous motorcycle gang that was kind of prevalent at the time. They were called the Rebels.
Okay.
And it's also noted here by Kathy, our amazing researcher, that multiple articles would refer to Sarah's mother as overprotective and state that overprotectiveness caused constant fights until Sarah would eventually move out. But I agree with Kathy's sentiment here. She said, personally, I would consider being resistant to a grown-ass man in a gang impregnating my 15 or 16-year-old daughter to be the right amount of protectiveness. So this just feels a lot like rape culture and misogynistic shit at work. She was literally in the 10th grade at 15 years old, and she's moving out of her mom's house and moves in with Alois, and she gets pregnant almost right away. She was 16 when she gave birth to their first child in 2006, and between 2006 and December of 2011, Sarah would give birth to another 3 children. So she has 3 children, like, under the age of 5.
Jeez.
Or, sorry, 4 children under the age of 5. 5 and under.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah. 4 children before she's, like, 21. Which is great. Also, during this time, Alois would attempt to leave the motorcycle gang. He wanted to leave the Rebels Motorcycle Club, just be with his kids. You know, he's a bad person, but he was trying to, like, be less bad.
Okay.
He knew some gang secrets, so he did feel that he would be a target for leaving. So the family moved around frequently. First, you know, they leave Newcastle, then they went to the Central Coast and Port Stephens areas. But in 2012, they eventually settled with their 4 children and Ziona back in Dubbo, which is Ziona's hometown, and like Alois had spent a ton of his life there, so they had friends and connections there. But this is 400 miles away from where her mom, Sarah's mom, was living in Newcastle, where they had lived before, and she had no community there. So she's totally isolated at this point with her children.
Ugh.
For 10 days, they resided with Raymond Roff, that old family friend of Ziona's, and Raymond's aunt, while the family looked for a house in the area. Alois and Raymond spent a lot of time together going out on the weekends, and Kathy Roff, Raymond's wife of 30 years, had passed from cancer like the year prior in May of 2012. So he just really appreciated the company.
He was lonely.
Yep. And when Alois bought a house on Alfred Street nearby, Raymond helped the family move in, renovate the new house. He's over there all the time. And these regular visits would lead to a relationship developing between him, Raymond, and Sarah.
Oh, God.
So Sarah's like 23 or 24 at this point. She's got 4 kids and is most likely being abused by her husband. We have some evidence to indicate that. And Raymond is 51, a recent widower. He's almost 30 years older than her.
God damn it. These old guys need to quit fucking around with Sarah.
Yep. Yep.
Ugh.
Sarah would confide in Raymond about her problems with Alois. She said she was unhappy in the relationship and felt that Alois was lazy and over-demanding. She also didn't like the criticism she received from her mother-in-law, who also lived in their house.
Oh, good.
So their romance kind of blooms end of 2012 into 2013. And at the end of 2012, in December of 2012, an old school friend of Alois, a guy named Hamish, was struggling financially. So he and his son also moved in with the Alois family. So there's 8 people living in the house now.
Too much.
5 children.
Oh, no.
Hamish, Alois, Sarah, and Zayana are all living under this fucking house. And Raymond's over all the time. So there's essentially 9-10 people there at all times.
And his mom.
Yeah, I counted her.
Oh, okay.
With the crowded home increasing tensions, Sarah would become closer to Raymond. After getting close over a period of months while renovating the Alfred Street premises, Sarah began to make sexual overtures to Raymond. A court justice that presided over this case, named Justin Fagan, would later describe them as, quote, very explicit sexual overtures. These explicit advances would escalate through January 2013. Sarah would allegedly flash Raymond while the children were in the house, asking him if he, quote, liked what he'd seen. A classic move.
Yes.
She also sent him explicit photographs. I mean, it's 2013. We've all got iPhones at this point.
Mm-hmm.
March of 2013, after strong encouragement from Sarah, according to the judge, Raymond began to reciprocate her feelings, and Sarah and Raymond began a full-on sexual relationship. Now, I obviously have thoughts about how they're kind of blaming Sarah when her behavior makes perfect sense to me. She'd been groomed by an older abuser who she married, and he sired 4 children with her. She wants out of this relationship, and this is the path she'd been groomed to walk. So, like, here's this other older man that she can count on who's protective of her. I just think that this is a reflection of how the courts were painting her as kind of a Lolita who came onto these men and convinced at least Raymond to do things he wouldn't normally do, which, like, maybe that's true. I just think that it usually is more complicated than that, and this girl has been taken advantage of really her entire life.
Yeah.
So they would meet on most school days when the kids were gone, sometimes twice a day at locations around Dubbo to hook up. A lot of times they would pick spots like outside. Like Kathy put a photo in here of under a bridge down by a river in the area. Which she said seemed literally hot and way too exposed to bugs and like spiders the size of your head.
Oh, ish. No.
No, thanks.
It's not like a cute bridge.
No, it's like it kind of looks like a highway overpass over a little muddy creek.
Oh, not a cute bridge.
No. In late March, Sarah would write a long love letter to Raymond and would leave the note in his motorhome. The letter stated that their relationship had given her a new meaning to life and something to live for, and ended promising to be his beautiful wife and bride. Raymond would respond with a letter of his own saying that he would be a great husband to her and a great father to her children. So they're planning, they want to be together. May of 2013, Sarah tells Raymond she wants Alois gonzo. She never wants to see him again. And this is an indication to Raymond she wants her husband killed. A month later, in June of 2013, Sarah discovers she's pregnant with her 5th child. And she believes the baby is Raymond's baby.
Okay.
Yep. When she told Raymond about the baby, he was thrilled.
Oh.
But on or around July 15th, he did give Sarah like a 3-week ultimatum deadline. Leave Alois, we're going to raise this baby together. And if you don't end your relationship within 3 weeks, I'm breaking this off. I'm not going to wait around forever for all of us to be together. She's never going to leave him.
She's never going to leave him.
July 23rd of 2013. So May, she wants him killed. June, she finds out she's pregnant. July, Raymond spends the day at her house. And upon leaving, Alois would accuse Sarah of having an affair with him. So, like, Alois is on to this.
Okay. Finally.
Yeah, I know. It's literally happening, like, in his house. Like, Raymond is over all the time.
And they're outside. They're under a bridge.
Yeah, they're hooking up all over town. This altercation where Alois confronts Sarah turns physical. Alois pushed and dragged Sarah by her hair through the hallway of their home. During this attack, Sarah was able to text Raymond asking him to call the police for her, so he does. But when the police arrives, Sarah tells them there's no problem and that they could leave. And this upset Raymond because it would have been a good opportunity for Sarah to exit the relationship. She's on that 3-week deadline.
Mm-hmm.
She's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So he reminds her of his ultimatum and also brings up a way to get rid of Alois for good.
Potatoes.
Yep.
Yes.
So on July 25th, 2013, Raymond gives Sarah a bag of sleeping pills to crush up and put into Alois's food, telling her that she had to make a choice between the two of them. It's him or me. The pills were left over from Raymond's late wife, who had been struggling with cancer. So he had like pain meds, sleeping pills and stuff.
The big boys.
Yeah, prescription stockpile. He told Sarah to drug Alois and that once he was knocked out, he, Raymond, would come over and, quote, take care of it, finish the job. The pair then made their plan. They agreed that they would like get rid of Alois's body and not immediately report him missing. And that once they did report him missing, they could push a rebels gang kidnapping narrative. He left, he had information, we think they took him.
Ooh, okay.
And he did travel fairly regularly for work, so I don't think they knew it wouldn't raise alarm bells in the first couple days of him not being around. People wouldn't, even his family would be like, oh, he's probably just like on a job.
Okay.
So
not a bad plan.
It's not the worst plan. They do it terribly, though. So on July 28th,
They usually do.
They usually do. July 28th of 2013 is the day that the pair planned to murder him because Alois's mom, Ziona, who was still living with them, had plans to be in Sydney for at least a week. So she's going on vacation. She's out of the house. So it's only Alois, Sarah, and their 4 kids at home.
Okay.
And Hamish and his kid. So there's still a million fucking people in the house. But the mom's gone, the one who would be like the most incriminating because she's keeping an eye on like her precious baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
So that Sunday afternoon of July 28th, Sarah drives Ziona to the train station to drop her off for a trip. That evening, Sarah prepares the evening meal of chicken, veggies, and mashed potatoes.
Yum.
I know, right? This dinner sounds delish. She crushed the sleeping pills into Alois's portion of mashed potatoes that she served to him. Alois had a long day at work. He ate dinner in bed around 8 p.m. And after eating, Alois would become drowsy. Sarah would stay in contact with Raymond. This is what, honestly, y'all don't text about your murder plot.
No.
Like it's at the time, even 2013, we knew that text messages are forever. You can delete them off your phone. They're still with your service provider and carrier. That can be easily found and become evidence. So
It's
what
messy.
the fuck? It's so messy.
Ugh.
So she's staying in contact with Raymond during this time, keeping him informed of what's going on. Messages she sent him included phrases such as, still waiting for it to drop off, nothing is getting in the way of tonight, and I'm hoping he drops off soon. I'm sick of waiting. Pretty incriminating.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you may as well have just written like exactly how many sleeping pills you crushed into his mashed potatoes and what time you did it. And
Right.
how you can't wait for Raymond to come over and finish the job and kill her husband so she doesn't have to deal with her husband anymore. Like, this was very silly.
So we can play the motorcycle club.
Yeah, exactly. Put the whole plan in there. Why not? Around 10 p.m., friend/roommate Hamish returns home with his kid. He's chatting with Alois, who's not asleep yet. He's chilling. But Hamish is concerned about his behavior. He told police later that Alois was falling asleep mid-sentence while he was talking to him. Alois told him, like, it's nothing to worry about. He had worked a really hard day, and he said he had taken some painkillers because his back was hurting him. I don't know if these were prescription painkillers, but regardless, even if he just took some, like, Tylenol or whatever, that can definitely interact with other meds that are in your system. So it probably wasn't very helpful. As Hamish explained later in an interview with a publication called A Current Affair, quote, I asked him if he was high. That seemed a bit not right, you see, because Alois didn't do drugs. But his head started to drop, his eyes were closed, and his head was facing downwards by the end of it, like our conversation. And he said, anyway, man, I feel like I need to, and just trailed off and fell asleep in the middle of a sentence. As his drowsiness increased, he told Hamish that he was going to sleep. This would be the last time Hamish spoke to him. After giving his flatmate a high five, Hamish unwittingly said goodbye to Eloise for the final time.
Oh, God.
At one point in time, Hamish recalled hearing footsteps outside of his bedroom and Sarah opening Hamish's door and like peeking in on him. When he asked her what she wanted, she just shut the door. Not thinking much of it, Hamish would go back to sleep, but what she was actually doing was seeing if he was awake and could hear what was happening in the room next door. Raymond asked via text once again, y'all, Raymond's a boomer. He's 51 at this point. There's no way for him to understand how technology works, but like Sarah, come on.
No way.
There's just no way. He tells her to leave the front door unlocked so he can get in, turn off the security light, like the automatic light, and disconnect the CCTV monitor that they have of their property.
Good Lord.
Specifically the one covering the entry of the house.
Oh, my God.
And to put towels down where Eloise slept in case he had mess to clean up.
Oh, Jesus.
Around 1:50 a.m., so now the early morning of July 29th, Sarah texted Raymond that Eloise was sleeping soundly enough to not be disturbed by a passing train so that Raymond knew to come over. And so he arrived around 2 a.m. Raymond entered the room and killed Eloise in a way that is still unknown.
Whoa, really?
There was blood, which I don't know how much of it was in the bedroom, but there certainly was in other areas that we're going to get to.
That's so
but we're not
odd.
quite sure. I mean, yeah, you'd think we had kind of thought when I heard about the towels, it was like, oh, he's going to suffocate him.
Yeah.
And then there's no blood. And then if he is found later, he had drugs in his system, maybe that
He
could
just
be
suffocated.
cause of death. Yeah. We don't know what his cause of death is because the body's never been recovered.
Oh, got
but
it.
There,
okay.
But there was blood.
Okay.
So Raymond
I
then...
was thinking they had a body and they couldn't
Nope.
fucking tell how he died.
No, he's never been found.
Oh.
Yeah. Raymond dragged the body wrapped in bedding from the bedroom to the driveway where he backed his car up close to the house. He was also sure to take Eloise's phone and his cigarettes with him to sell the idea that Eloise had left the house on his own accord. Meanwhile, Sarah kept watch. All the children were still in the house at this time, including Hamish's kids. There's 5 kids in the house. While she's essentially poisoned her husband and Raymond has come in and murdered him.
All right.
Hamish would wake up at some point and Sarah would stare at him strangely and he just went back to bed. But he didn't see Raymond.
Are they all in the same fucking room together?
No, but they're all in the same house and he probably like got up to pee, whatever, maybe saw her in the hallway, didn't see Raymond or Eloise, so he's just like, ugh, and then he just went back to bed. I don't like this.
This is so fucking weird.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
With Sarah's help, Raymond lifted Eloise's body into his car and drove away to dispose of him. Quote, I helped him place Eloise's lifeless body in the back of his car. He didn't say where he was going. He didn't say where he was taking him. I left and went back inside. So that's according to Sarah Tarrant, who said this during a police interview after the fact. Raymond would text Sarah, telling her to hose off the driveway, which she did because there was blood. The next morning, Sarah went out to buy new bedding at Target and went about her normal routine, not reporting Eloise missing to family or friends. According to Sarah, this is her timeline of events. She wakes up at around 11:30. She goes to the rear of her house and she falls asleep on a lounge chair. 2:30 a.m., she goes down the hall to go to the bathroom and she sees Raymond coming out of Eloise's bedroom and closing the door behind him. He tells Sarah to go back to the lounge and just stay out of it. 20 minutes later, Sarah hears the bedroom and front doors closing. Sarah would see that Eloise was not in bed and that the quilt and other bedding items were missing. She's trying to be like, I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah walked outside and saw Raymond standing next to his vehicle with, quote, something wrapped in a blanket on the ground next to Raymond's Great Wall 4-wheel drive SUV. Raymond told Sarah to help him. She would realize that the white blanket contained Eloise's lifeless body. She agreed to help. The pair apparently experienced considerable difficulty maneuvering the body into the vehicle. Afterwards, Raymond drove away in a westerly direction and Sarah returned to the lounge. That's what she's like. This is all I know.
All I know is that I didn't know anything and then I was moving a body and then I went to bed.
And I went to bed. So on August 2nd of 2013, they finally report Eloise missing. So like I said earlier, it wasn't super unusual for him to be away from home. So his absence initially did not alarm his relatives. But after a couple of days, Hamish got concerned and starts texting and calling Alois, and he obviously isn't getting any responses back. After almost a week, however, Alois's aunt became aware of his absence and contacted his mother, who was still in Sydney. She cuts her trip to Sydney short. She comes home. She's like, where the fuck is my son? Together, they go to the police station to report him missing, and this would force Sarah and Raymond to go along as well and act concerned, because they obviously know where he is. During initial questioning by police, Sarah maintained that she had no idea what had happened to Alois and that she was anxious about his absence. During this interview, Sarah starts planting the seed. She mentions the Rebels motorcycle gang, suggesting that they might have found him and abducted him. She stated that he had been receiving threatening messages saying things like he'd better move and that he'd better watch his back, that they were coming to get him. While Alois had received threatening messages in the past, this was years earlier. They had moved over 400 miles away from the Newcastle area. Previously, Alois had gone to the police about these messages. And so if there were new messages, which they didn't find on his phone because there weren't new messages, and he didn't go to the police, even though he had before. So like this was not a good plan.
Okay.
And only Ziona was out of the house that night, which left 3 adults, Sarah, Alois, and Hamish, and 5 children. So nobody hearing anything would be super weird. Like if a kidnapping had taken place and no one knew that he'd been taken, they're not buying it.
Have they interviewed
so.
Hamish yet at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
But eventually they interviewed everybody. After this interview, though, they were like, we're going to get a warrant and we're going to search your house. So they searched Sarah and Alois's house. When searching at the home, police found Alois's wallet, which he should have brought with him if he'd left willingly. And it's like, you got to know.
Fucking wallet.
Yeah, he remembered the cigarettes.
Oh my God.
But not his wallet.
These people.
Yeah. Police also investigated the driveway as they knew that the security cameras covering that front area had been specifically turned off. And they swabbed a crack in the cement and found blood that would test positive as belonging to Alois.
Oh my God.
Yep. So then they searched Raymond's car a couple days later. Police would seize Raymond's vehicle, where they would find a great deal of dried blood in the back of his Great Wall SUV.
They didn't even fucking clean his car at this point?
No, I don't think so. Or if they did, he didn't do it very well.
Jesus.
And the luminol just lit up like a Christmas tree.
It's always a Christmas tree.
I just don't think he cleaned well, because they also found the sleeping pills that had been prescribed to Raymond's late wife in the car. So, like, you're not covering your tracks at all.
You're
just leaving,
obviously a bachelor.
You're leaving, like, literal blood and pill crumbs directly to the scene.
My
Quote,
dude.
yeah, my guy, you're blowing this. Quote, at that stage, we didn't know whose blood it was, but we suspected. Until the relevant DNA testing could be completed, which was within a few days, then the confirmation of Alois's blood came through the following Monday. So it's like, this is his. It's his in the driveway. This is not good. I think at that point, they realize that it's enough blood that this guy's dead, even though they have not recovered a body. Because these folks were charged with murder.
Yeah.
So they know he's dead. By August 9th, police had obtained a warrant and conducted a search of Raymond's home. In his home, they would find love letters, women's underwear belonging to Sarah. There's something about just like a 50-plus-year-old man in this relationship with a 24-year-old girl and keeping her panties in his house. I just want to barf.
It's really gross.
I really hate it. And I'm like all about, if you want to sniff your partner's panties consensually, baby, go off. But the age gap is not healthy in these circumstances.
The whole context surrounding, and then they're killing her husband. It's the
all
whole
bad.
thing.
It's the whole thing.
The whole time.
Quote, we suspected there was a relationship up until that point, but until we found the love letters, some underwear, and the actual admissions by Mr. Roth that they were in a relationship, that heightened our suspicions a lot more. So that's Detective Sergeant Baker who is commenting on that. They had suspected that they were sleeping together, but they didn't have any solid proof until they searched his house.
Okay.
With his disappearance now looking like a crime, Hamish, Sarah, and Raymond were all brought in for questioning and their phones seized. When their phones were searched, they would find the text messages exchanged from that night, including the text confirming that Alois was passed out. So Hamish is immediately ruled out as a suspect because fucking Sarah and Raymond detailed their entire plan via text. It's like, good for Hamish. At least that made it easy for them to be like, oh, no, Doc, you're good. You can go home. At one point, Raymond admitted to saving Sarah in his phone as, quote, hot, sexy, yummy mummy.
Ish.
Yeah. And if you're following along in my notes, there is a photo of Sarah and Raymond, so you can really see what hot, sexy, yummy mummy and the man saying that look like.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond.
She's beautiful. He's just a gross old man.
Oh, he is just a gross old man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Double flannel, too.
Yeah. He's layering his flannels. It's all bad. Under questioning, Raymond would continue to deny his involvement in everything, despite the text exchanges as evidence. Like, it's kind of hard to get out of this. It's on digital paper.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, however, sang like a canary. She cracked immediately. Confessed that she and Raymond were responsible. She admitted to putting sleeping pills in Alois's mashed potatoes, but she claimed that she didn't know what to expect after he finished eating and didn't know that Raymond would hurt him, claiming that she only wanted to scare Alois and not hurt him. So she totally did that thing where you try to confess just enough to get like a lighter sentence.
Yep. Yeah.
It's bullshit.
It is.
They plotted to kill him and she knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah. It's a really weak lie, too.
It's really weak.
Mm-hmm.
When she was asked to explain her text, quote, I can't wait for the pills to kick in, she responded saying, quote, Raymond gave me the pills and I gave them to Alois to put him to sleep. I just wanted him to go to bed.
Forever.
The pair were arrested on August 9th and both charged with murder. Raymond was eventually found guilty for premeditated murder, and Sarah was found guilty of manslaughter. A fisherman on August 19th would find a bedsheet and other bedding floating in the Macquarie River. The sheet would match descriptions of Sarah's bedding, and testing would find dog hairs that belonged to Raymond's dog. So
I love it when it comes down to dog hair.
I love a dog hair.
Mm-hmm.
I love a dog hair. So it wasn't explicitly stated, but the thought is the dog hair got onto the sheet when they transferred Alois's body into Raymond's SUV.
The car. Yep. Okay.
Yep. And the fact that we haven't found a body, but in the water, a dog hair still clung to that sheet, it's pretty miraculous. But that paints a picture like Raymond probably dumped him in the river and he went downriver and he just was never found.
Yeah. Recovered.
Mm-hmm. March 21st of 2016, Sarah pled guilty to manslaughter, which the Crown didn't accept. And she was tried again for murder.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They just not accept?
I guess. I don't really know how this works, but I guess somebody brought manslaughter charges. Are they off? They maybe put in a plea for manslaughter, and the Crown was like, no, we're not taking a plea deal. Because
so the Crown is basically just the DA.
Yeah, the court.
Okay.
Yeah. So April 14th, a jury acquitted Sarah Tarrant on one charge of murder, but found her guilty of manslaughter. So I think that the court was like, no, we're not going to try you just for manslaughter or have you take a plea deal. You're going to court. Here are the charges. But the jury couldn't make first degree fit. So they just came back with manslaughter, called it good.
Okay.
The day that she was found guilty was the same day that Raymond's trial started. So they were not tried together and they were tried like in succession. Mm-hmm. Sarah's manslaughter conviction went as follows. A jury would find Sarah guilty of manslaughter on the grounds that she was mentally unstable and did not fully understand what was going on. A psychiatrist and family violence specialist named Dr. Carolyn Quadrio would state that Sarah suffered from chronic PTSD following an extensive history of abuse, as well as childhood of disturbed development, stating that mentally Sarah was a severely impaired person, which if all of that's true, these relationships that Raymond and Alois had with her are that much more horrifying.
Yeah.
Yes. especially Raymond. You're in your fucking 50s. Your wife just died.
And you're like a family friend who's known her since she was little.
A kid. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's really fucked up. Sarah's father is a convicted pedophile, and he had spent many years in prison. I don't think she really had a relationship with him.
I hope not.
Yeah, her mother and father separated when she was 5 years old, and she lived with her mom. She had also...
That's rough.
Yeah. She'd also been at the receiving end of physical violence. There was that physical altercation with Alois on July 23rd, which was only days before his murder, and that was part of a larger history of physical and verbal abuse. Quote, I think her capacity to understand right or wrong is not at all normal, according to Dr. Quadrio. In delivering his judgment, Justice Fagan told the court of 12 occasions between 2004 and 2013 when Alois Rez had been abusive toward Tarrant. He also found that Sarah Tarrant was exposed to fits of temper, in many of which he smashed or threw items in or damaged walls by punching them, which is like mega red flag abuser behavior. Like if you've got a dude in your life who gets pissed and punches a wall,
it's gonna be you sometime.
It's only a matter of time before it's you.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.